Welcome to episode 5. We're going to be talking about a historic true crime case while playing a little Sims. In this episode, we're going to be talking about the Red Barn murder. This 1827 crime became quite famous in England at its time. I'm not really sure how well known it is today in modern day England, and I also don't think it's very well known here in America. Let's start off with catching up on what our Sims are doing before getting into the case. So I had originally planned on Clara quitting her job in this episode and focusing on her bakery, but I think I'll wait on that. Right now, Clara is pregnant with their first child. I guess I should say she's going to get pregnant at the end of this episode. Spoiler. I hadn't originally planned on them having kids until a little bit later, but I just decided to go ahead and let them have a child. I was gonna edit out the animation scene where they're starting their family, but I feel like the bed blocks it out pretty well, and it's actually really hard to edit things out using the program I use to edit, that's why the first episode had so many glitches, and I feel like the bed blocks things adequately. I ultimately didn't feel like it was appropriate to see that animation while talking about some of the details of this case, and I was worried that animation might overlap with something in this case. At this point, we do have the bakery built. I think I dropped some stuff off in this episode and it just completely disappeared. Hopefully that won't be an ongoing issue. Meanwhile, Kyle is going to continue working as a doctor. They do start their family in this episode, and the bakery is up and running. We're about to start seeing them fulfill their life goals. Anyway, back to the mystery. In 1801, Maria Martin was born in Suffolk. As Maria grew, she was considered to be a real beauty and was very popular with men. Her relationships resulted in 2 illegitimate children. Their relationship with a man named Thomas Porter, who became the father of one of her illegitimate children. Sadly, the child didn't live very long. The surviving child was fathered by a man named Peter Matthews. Peter had decided not to marry Maria, but he still sent money to help support the child. Having had these 2 children probably had a negative effect on her education. Regardless of that, at the tender age of 24, she began a relationship with William Porter. William was the younger brother of Thomas, and he was 2 years younger than Maria. William had quite the reputation himself. He was known to have engaged in fraud and to have kept the company of multiple women. William had been sent away after stealing from his father. He stole some pigs from his father and illegally sold them. The matter was settled without involving the law, but his father was apparently extremely angry. Misfortune would plague the Porter family. William had to be recalled to the family farm after his father and 3 of his brothers died. I believe this left him as the only living male member of the Porter family, and it was up to him and his mom to help keep the family farm running. When William first began dating Maria Martin, he wanted to keep their relationship a secret. Maria, however, had fallen deeply in love with William and wished to marry him. At the age of 25, Maria became pregnant with William's child. Now that she was pregnant, William seemed to be a little bit more interested in settling down. He expressed interest in marrying Maria. Sadly, their child would not survive. Still, William intended to marry Maria. Maria had a stepmother named Anne. Anne was present when William informed Maria that the police were interested in pursuing charges against her. At the time, it was apparently illegal to have illegitimate children. William told Maria that he had overheard a rumor that she was going to be arrested and prosecuted because of her children's existence. The news must have been terrifying for Maria to hear, but William had a plan. Still in the presence of Anne, he revealed that he wished to elope with Maria. He promised to meet Maria in the most iconic structure in the area. The landmark was known as the Red Barn because of its roof. Though part of the roof was thatched, the rest was covered in red clay tile. William suggested Maria meet him at the Red Barn before the 2 eloped to Ipswich. The 2 had originally planned to meet on May 16, 1827, which was a Wednesday. It's unknown exactly what delayed William, but he sent word that he couldn't make it and that he wished to meet Maria on Thursday instead. Once Thursday came, William once again sent word that he would be delayed. Again, the reason is unknown. Finally, on Friday, May 18, 1827, William arrived at the Martin household. Anne overheard him tell Maria that a warrant had been issued for her arrest. There was no time to wait. They would have to leave at once. Maria was somewhat worried that someone would see her and recognize her. After all, it was the middle of the day. She was worried about what would happen if the authorities spotted her. William had a plan, though. He suggested that Maria dress in men's clothing. He would carry her things to the Red Barn ahead of time. Once they reached the Red Barn, she could change into her normal clothing. From there, the two could journey to Ipswich. After William left the house, Maria went along with the plan and went to meet him at the Red Barn. The barn was only about a mile from the Martin household. After this, Maria and William would disappear. So we've made it to the part of the video where Clara is about to make a fruit parfait. My plan was to take this to the bakery, but unfortunately when I tried to set it on the counter, it completely disappeared and I couldn't find it anywhere. No idea what happened to it. But I wanted to take a second. If you don't mind, pause the video, tell me what you think is going on with William and Maria. I'd love to hear your theories about what happens next in the comment section below. But without further ado, let's get on with the case. When William initially returned to Suffolk, he claimed that Maria had settled into Ipswich. According to William, she was spending some time traveling around the surrounding area. When people began pressuring him to bring Maria back to Suffolk, he left the area. On Maria's behalf, he began writing letters to her family. He claimed she was too sick to write herself. Then he claimed she had injured her hand. But there was good news. William wrote that he and Maria had married and settled nicely on the Isle of Wight. Unfortunately for William, Maria's stepmother Anne began to have dreams that Maria had been murdered and was buried in the Red Barn. On April 19, 1828, almost a year after Maria had last been seen, Anne convinced her husband, Maria's father, to go and investigate the Red Barn. Maria's father found his daughter's body in a sack of grain. Though Maria was badly decomposed, they were still able to identify her. Maria's sister, also named Anne, seemed to know exactly who the body belonged to. The body was also missing a tooth. Maria had lost the exact same tooth. The body was wearing some of Maria's clothing, and William's green handkerchief was tied around her neck. In London, there was a police officer named James Leah. James would eventually go on to investigate the case of Spring-Heeled Jack. At this point, James was assisting a man named Aries in tracking William down. By this point, William had married a woman named Mary Moore. William had taken out ads in a couple of newspapers, searching for a new love in his life. He had almost 100 replies, and Mary was one of them. With Mary, William began to run a boarding house for women. When James arrived at the house, he claimed he was looking for a place to board his daughter. Upon gaining entrance, James found William in the parlor and promptly arrested him. Searching through William's things, the police found a French passport. They would suspect him of trying to use the passport to flee the country. A couple of pistols were also found in his possession. William was returned to Suffolk, where he had to stand trial for Maria's murder. Maria's exact cause of death couldn't be established. Some believed she may have been strangled by the green handkerchief still hanging around her neck, though others believed she was shot with William's pistols. In August 1828, the trial against William Corder began. At this point, the case had become somewhat famous, and the trial against William brought a bunch of tourists to the area. The trial managed to gain a lot of newspaper attention, and people became fascinated by the death of Maria Martin. Maria's stepmother Anne testified about everything she had overheard, and the dreams that ultimately led to the discovery of Maria's body. Maria's younger brother George had also seen William walking around with loaded pistols shortly before his sister's murder, though William claimed he was innocent. According to William, he left Maria alone in the barn after they fought. While walking away, he heard the sound of a gunshot. When he returned to the barn, he found Maria dead with the pistols by her side. He took the pistols and hid her body, worried about how suspicion might fall on him. The jury took only 35 minutes to come back with a guilty verdict. The judge ordered that William hang for his crimes. Afterwards, William's body would be dissected in the interest of science. William was persuaded to confess to his crimes by his wife Mary and the prison's pastor. William's new story was that he had accidentally shot Maria after the two argued. 4 days after the trial began, William was hung in front of a large crowd. Thousands had come to see William punished for his hand in Maria's death. Maria's death went on to inspire plays and a fairly well-known song. In 1935, a British movie was made depicting the events of Maria's death. Even before William's trial, Maria and William quickly became characters in pop culture. Plays and songs were capturing the public's attention before William even went to trial. These plays were already depicting William as the killer. This probably affected his chance of getting a fair and impartial trial. Maria's home and the Red Barn quickly became tourist attractions. People would begin to hunt for souvenirs. There were people who were taking parts of the barn and pieces of Maria's headstone. Part of the barn was even turned into toothpicks and sold to people who wanted a piece of the sensational story. A lock of Maria's hair was sold, and Mary made some money by selling some of her husband's old things. The creepiest part was that the killer's skin was tanned and used to bind a book containing details of the grisly crime. This same book is currently being held in a British museum. The thing about this case that seemed to capture the public's attention the most was the stepmother's dreams. Without her dreams, who knows how long Maria would have been in that barn. I've personally always disliked trials being turned into headlines before the case had ever gone to court. It seems unkind to subject the family to constant news coverage, and it seems unfair not to give the accused a fair chance before convicting them in the court of public opinion. Sometimes when a person is found guilty in the eyes of the public, they turn out to be innocent. But in this case, I think we can all agree that William was probably guilty. Alright, well, let's check in on our Sims. We have Kyle asleep, and Claire's returning from what's probably going to be her last day at the restaurant. From here on out, she's gonna have her baby, and she's gonna quit her restaurant job to take over at the bakery. Alright, so here you're gonna see me using a cheat code to add funds to the family's income. I'm going to be using this cheat code to give Clara any earnings she would receive from her bakery, since there's no way legitimately for her to earn money from this career because it's not a legitimate career in the game. I'm going to have to use this cheat code to kind of fill in the gap, though to be completely honest, I don't really like doing that. I wish there was a way she could just legitimately make money from selling her baked goods. Like I said in an earlier video, I'm going to be using a random number generator to help decide how much money she's going to make in income. Alternatively, I might just give her like $1,000 every few days. Right now she makes $51 an hour, so I might just figure out a way to calculate a sort of salary position for her. Now in the last few minutes of this playthrough, you'll get to enjoy watching me save my lot from a fire because Clara decided to cook just as she had to leave for work, of course. And then the video is going to end with them working on the creation of their first child. So glad that didn't fall in the middle of the actual case that we were talking about. Just out of curiosity, I'm struggling with a sore throat, and I was wondering if you could hear it in my voice. I feel like my voice sounds slightly different than normal. Anyway, thank you for joining me for this case. Please like, subscribe, and share the video to help support the channel, and please come back if you've enjoyed hearing about this historical case.